before we start moving on to that, I just wanted to provide one of the tips is for this is for the students actually. Many students are plan when you are studying, if you are a student, then when you are studying, you wanted to actually increase your grade and then performance in the school, right? So this is not exactly like a study methods or related to, well, it is part of study method, but not really directly related to what I'm talking about. But this might be giving you some idea that how you can deal with schoolwork, like especially when you are having some sort of like exams or something like that. Okay. So I'm gonna just briefly give you some idea about that specific point, that how to deal with the exams in the university or in the secondary schools. In generally, that uh, well, I'm not gonna be able to talk about the entire all types, different types of the exams. So what I'm going to talk about is I'm going to give you some idea about how to deal with the multiple choices. And I already dealt with one of them, the techniques that uh, it was like about two, three lectures before, like when I gave you general idea that how you plan your studies, like overall steps on how you plan your studies. So I'm gonna give you some of the basic idea about these exams briefly before we go into the actual biology concepts and study methods. Okay. So the first thing is in you have to understand is this is one of the trend that the education is trying to move, which is goal-oriented. Goal. So basically, what that means is that, as I mentioned before, now I'm talking about the same thing as in term in the in from the viewpoints of the exams. That is for the goal setting, meaning I'm gonna give you one example with either math or physics and chemistry, science, or pretty much all the science are involved in here, but not just a science, it's social studies and everything is based on you can find them in here. Okay, so what that means is that when you're so this is one of the trend that you need to really aware of. Okay, the entire exam, not all exams are the same. The worst case that you are gonna face will be the one that checking for the knowledge. For example, what year the World War II happened and what countries involved in. This is probably one of the worst example of the exams that you will be experiencing, because this is simply checking that your knowledge level and your memory capacity. And as I said, this is like you learned from me like what year the World War II happened and what countries involved. Now you have to remember and you have to reproduce exactly. That's like a training dogs, training animals. Okay, so you are being checked like animals. Like here's a checkpoint that okay, let me see if you are following here. Okay, but in general, overall, I believe at least, not that I know of, but many of them is try to avoid that. And then what all the either teachers and professors, what they are trying to do is trying to actually provide some of the chances for you to develop your brain. That is moving toward to goal oriented. This is something like this. You when there's some statement with conditions given, and what you need to do is you need to find the answers, right? So you remember that how you deal with the if you watched the one that couple of lectures before, then you probably remember that how to deal with all the examples of the physics that I gave an example, right? So let's say you have velocity and then you have acceleration constant and everything, and then you wanted to find it out, how long it takes and how many meters it went. This is one of the well, this is kind of like a primitive goal-oriented approaches try to give you some idea that how you can given with the given data how you can manipulate the data to find the answers. That's what the generally what it goes in the direction that the education is focusing on. So if you see something like checking that the knowledge level, then you can easily think that this is not education that you are looking for. Even you are in the, you actually are you should be brave enough and then say that we want you to learn how to use brain instead of like just taking the exam like this. Okay. Now with this, the one of the most basic approaches. I'm not gonna be able to deal with all the different types of the approaches. Is most of one of the basic approaches is that what you need to do is you need to analyze the questions. Okay, what that means is that what you need to do is just step by step. Okay, and you it is if you need it, then you need to draw pictures. Okay, you actually have to draw. For example, like a let's say object is moving certain velocity, then you actually have to draw. And when you looking at this biology topics with the concepts, then you probably seen that the concepts in the biology, the starting point is that when you're looking at the figures or photos, you actually start describing it, right? The same thing. This is wordings. And sometimes you are actually given with the figures. Either way, what you need to do is you need to either turn this figure into the wordings that the way that you could you understand the way that you think that what it really try to describe it. If it is wordings, then you turn it into the figures or turn that into your own different description. That's the first step. And the second step is do you list all the factors involved? Okay, so if it is if a distance is given, or if the temperature is given, or whatever the factors that is involved, you need to lay down it. Okay, and there's one more part that you need to find out, which is a factor that is not given, but it is hidden inside, already like a conditionally already given. For example, like in terms of physics, that the movement, all these movement and all these force related everything calculation, it is the basic the idea is based on the gravitational force in there. Gravitational acceleration is in there. So you will, oops, I didn't notice that the my camera is blocking the whiteboard. Yeah, so I'll make myself disappear about this much and then I'll continue. Okay, sorry about it. So basically what you need to do is you need to find out all the hidden factors so that you can actually list these factors as well. Sometimes they are not given because it is for example, in the common sense or something like that. So you have to work on it. Okay, that's one of the way you deal with the some of the test exams like given with the questions like this. Okay, but let me so just to give you a little more brief information for the questions, you need to analyze questions. So basically you have to train yourself to analyze it. Okay, now there's a second type of the questions. What is the something called multiple choices. Now, multiple choices is actually easier for the teachers. The reason is because you have, in these days, there are a lot of textbooks already provide like a many variety of the question banks. That means that what they could go is just select some of the example questions and then modify inside of a little bit and then just give it to the student. And the multiple choices, that could be done with not just multiple choices, something you calculate or something you'd have to describe. That's all involved in there. But multiple choices is one of the simplest way and that you will face many times in your, well, you will see them in your exam test every single moment. Now, then multiple choices. This type of questions is relatively easier. I mean, in terms of thinking processes, you actually, if you are able to think and you are able to really figure out how to do this, then you will build the skills for sure. You're gonna accumulate the skills more and more. So basically, you can train yourself the to deal with these type of the questions easier and easier as you build the skill. The problem is with the multiple choices. Why? The multiple choices is something very, it look like a multiple choices is the easiest way for both sides, right? So teachers provide multiple choices and then do you do it? And then even university, some I've been seeing that they use OMR card or something that you just mark in the mark on the answers and then this one goes through the machine and then it automatically grades everything. So the teachers don't even have to really mark anything much, but just having the grade shows up, then that's it, right? So multiple choices is one of the choices that is done by the many even universities. The problem is this one is actually could work against of your brain development. Okay, and because of the multiple choices that you might having more difficult time because to learn how to deal with these questions like in this way. So let's say this is of number one choices and this is number two choices. Number one choice is one of the way that you actually build your skills in dealing with the questions. But when it comes to the number two, now what happens is that this one actually work against your building skills for the dealing with these questions. The reason is here why. The multiple choices is a question is given, that is the same, but you have examples. And then you check which one is the right answer. Problem is, your brain, in generally, this is what human brain works. Human brain, because of the evolutionary processes, now what happens is in the brain is that human brain is try to think, find answers. So whenever there's some issues or whenever there is some kind of like you are facing like you need to troubleshoot or something, when that happens, then your brain automatically looks for answers. What does this mean? As soon as the answer is given, your brain stops thinking. So basically what that means is that once you say, okay, this is a question I wanted to understand, how do I deal with it? And then you are not able to find it out what to do. And then you read through the multiple choices that given multiple possible answers, and then as soon as you see that okay, this is the answer, then what happens? Your brain automatically link with this question with this one. Once that is happening, then your brain is not trying to develop thinking skills. Your brain stops thinking. This is the reason when you learned in this way, and then when you have next exam, and then now because this is either comprehensive or a little bit more challenges, so the conditions are somewhat tweaked, then what happens? You have to rethink. But problem is, because when your answer was given, now you are not able to really think back. You are not able to really think through with these questions. Now you have to rethink. Basically, you have to reboot everything and then you have to redo it. So it takes as much time as the first one. And sometimes, because if you train your brain in this way, then sometimes what happens is this one doesn't really develop your brain. Because of that, you will have even harder time when you are started rethinking because you didn't learn how to think. Okay, so this is what happens for the multiple choices. Then, how you wanted to study, how you need to do the study. As I said, the number one is simple. You need to analyze them. Either turn the description into the figure or figure into the description by yourself. Okay, this is on your own. You have to redo it. That's the only way that because if you expecting that okay, I'll have the same question over and over and it's similar, I can deal with it, then probably you are not going to be doing this. But if you really wanted to develop the way to deal with this, then that's how you need to do. And then you need to shuffle the data to find it out that what is the expected outcomes from here. So basically answers. Okay. Now with number two, multiple choices, this is a part that what you need to do. Okay. So multiple choices is a question is given like this. Okay. But if it is an actual test that you are sitting and you have to take, then you don't have to, you just go through it, right? But when you are studying for the exams or any practice exams and practice questions, then what you need to do is remove these choices. Remove them. So basically just block the like using some of the paper like this and then block it. If possible, just use cut and paste from the questions or ask someone, your parents, if you are your friends or your parents or whoever that are available, you just ask them to block and then leave only questions without examples given. Okay. And then what you do is you list all the possible answers that you could find, and once you do it, so basically you are making the examples by yourself, right? Once you did it, then after you open up these examples and compare. Okay, this in this way you will improve, you will crank up your skills in the dealing with these questions a lot more. So basically, this is a thinking skills, but this is not really thinking as the to make the differences or to make something, develop something, developing some of the creative thinking or something. It's not like a creative thinking like a level, but at least for your school work, you'll be able to deal with it a lot easier and faster. Okay. And then you can improve skills because this is a simple, combination of the data and then finding some answers that based on the given data analysis, right? Yeah. So this is how you deal with it. This is one of the example that you have to. So whenever you are working on some of the school work, and then if there's multiple choices, and my suggestion is don't deal with the multiple choices. Okay, to remove this and then build yourself and compare later on. In this way you will improve. Basically what happens is you are getting into the brain of the people who are giving the making these questions and then give you the test. Okay. But basically, if you just keep try to find what is the right answer, so basically, if this is right or wrong, and then if you approach it in that way, then your brain will thinking will be boxed in more and tighter, and basically your brain is not gonna really develop much. Okay, so you have to think about that part. Yeah. Okay, now let's move on to the today's. topic. Okay, yeah, which is right here.